morning, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? Welcome to Big Talk with Bruce Dickey here on Wabash Cats TV. Look who is here. It's Cary O'Dell. And we are going to talk today about a book that he has just written. May not be available, but
it's order on Amazon. They'll send it. They're just having supply chain issues.
That's right. Supply chain issues.
That's what I was told.
That's right.
They print them in England for some reason. I don't know.
We're going to talk about a book he's written about the life and times of John R. Harrell, yep. Johnny Bob, as well as several other parts of Cary's interesting life here on Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is a gorgeous Wednesday, July 27th. Hopefully the rain has stopped in your part of the world, and we'll see if we can't get things dried out a little bit because, of course, tonight the Edwards County Fair does continue this evening, as I think they've got the rodeo going on down there tonight. My good friend Neil Farron is running that, so if you are down in Albion and in the area, by all means, check them out at the Edwards County Fair. Also, you and I need to go do this trivia night. Is tonight at the Bourbon Dock in Effingham. Are you going to that already? Do you already have plans?
I have a plan. I'm speaking, remember, tonight in Flora at the public library.
On 27th?
Yes.
On Wednesday?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's in I'm in Kinmundy on the 27th.
Kinmundy on the 27th. So you can't go?
I can't go. I'm sorry.
Where are you speaking in Kinmundy, by the way?
At the public library.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's I don't have that on my list, ladies and gentlemen. I feel terrible. Well, so item number 3 on the list, Cary O'Dell speaking at the public library over there in Kinmundy, Illinois. They'll be able to. What time's that start?
5:30.
5:30. Good. How long do you go?
I'm going to go for about an hour. We're going to talk about Johnny Bob, and we'll take questions. And
you've been doing this for a while. We'll talk, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll talk all about this here in a few minutes.
Very good.
All right, that's cool. Trivia night, like I said, up in Effingham tonight at the Bourbon Dock. What else is going on today here in Flora? Now, usually I don't much talk about things in the future. However, today is when they want you to get your money in. They're having the Flora High School All 80s class reunion. It's going to be at the venue 720, and that's going to be on August 6th. That's a week from Saturday. There will be a cocktail hour, a group photo at 6:45, and then dinner at 7 o'clock, catered by the Effingham IGA. They're going to have a live band, surprise guests, as well as a rocking 80s classic rock until 11 o'clock. Tea and lemonade will be provided, plus a cash bar as well will be available. Cost is going to be $15 per person, but that's the thing. They want you to RSVP by today. So pay by PayPal or a Facebook page. They have PayPal access to that. Or you can make a check or cash by cutting up the styling salon there in Flora. Please make sure to pay by July 27th so that they'll have an accurate head count. If you do have any questions, give a contact to Paula Cooper Edwards or Amy Webb Gutierrez. I think they've spelled her name wrong. Amy Webb Gutierrez or Beth Camp Corbett via Facebook. Somebody will get a hold of you as quickly as possible. What else is going on today, ladies and gentlemen? This is National Creme Brulee Day. This falls on July 27th. Each year presents an opportunity to enjoy a mouth-watering custard for dessert. Since there are several flavors of creme brulee, of course, don't miss out. Creme brulee is also known as burnt cream, crema catalana, or Trinity cream. The dessert consists of a rich custard base, custard then topped with a contrasting layer of caramelized sugar. Chefs achieve this final layer by using a small propane torch. So there you go, creme brulee day. Don't miss out on that. What else is going on today, ladies and gentlemen, here on July 27th? This is National Scotch Day. National Scotch Day, the folks recognized an aged whiskey distilled from malted barley. Make a toast on National Scotch Day and maybe share a drink with a friend. Since Scotch is protected by law, specific guidelines must be followed when making it or labeling it as Scotch. Otherwise, it's ordinary whiskey. I got to tell you, Cary, I hate scotch. I can't believe people drink scotch. Do you drink scotch? Or
I am a teetotaler.
You're a teetotaler?
Yeah.
Good for you.
And I'm an SIU grad, believe it or not.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
Scotch, but do you want a bad scotch joke?
I'm always up for a bad scotch joke.
There's National Scotch Day. Why do you like me? Because I think you're neat.
Oh, my gosh. Did you write that?
No,
God bless you.
I found that. Yeah, he was going to get up and leave. Yeah, so today
Check,
is
please. Okay.
Yeah, you're ready to go. Today, National Scotch Day. So by all means, enjoy Scotch if you're into that kind of thing. Enjoy Scotch. What else is going on here on July 27th? This is, ladies and gentlemen, National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. On June 25th, 1950, the first war of the Cold Era erupted when North Korean forces crossed the border into South Korea. The war would last 3 years, involving troops from around the globe, costing millions of lives. National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day commemorates the end of the Korean War on July 27th, 1953, and those who served during this often forgotten war.
That's when my dad was a Korean War vet.
Oh, is that right?
That is correct. Yep.
Well, I tell you what, that's the thing, Cary.
Yep.
5 or 10 years ago, the World War II vet numbers were, they were really tailing down. There's still a few now, but not very many. Right now, we're kind of in the spot where we're 5 or 10 years ago with Korean War veterans.
I know.
It's a shame, but I mean, time passes, I guess. So
I'm just glad they're being remembered because they kind of get forgotten. The forgotten war. Yeah.
That's exactly right. There's the veterans.
Yes.
That's on the mall there in Washington, D.C., and it is truly an impressive memorial, isn't it?
Yes, I've seen it in person. I was fortunate enough to be down there several times and see it, and it's very moving.
I saw it about 2 years ago myself, and you're just, it's fascinating how they built it. You just walking, it's like you're walking down. Well, it's like you're walking through the park, and all of a sudden there are these statues of dudes walking next to you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
and
really
what's beautiful. Also, is they bring so many of the veterans back to see the memorials, or the World War II memorial, or the Vietnam memorial, and I found that almost as moving as the memorial itself.
Well, that was one of the things that they've just introduced to the Korean Veterans Memorial, as they added the list of names who were killed in action.
Yeah.
So, and I was kind of surprised they just now did that.
Yeah.
You'd have thought they'd already been there since they did it 40 years ago for Vietnam.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the forgotten war. So, but do pay a little bit of homage today to the Korean War veterans. What else do you want to see on television today? I can tell you a little bit. We've got the Clay County Fair. The 4-H auction is tonight at 6:30 right here on this channel, channel 100. Also, Major League Baseball today. The Chicago White Sox will be in Colorado. That's Lucas Giolito versus Anthony Senzatella on NBC Sports Chicago, channel 643. The Cardinals will be in action tonight up in Toronto. Sans Goldschmidt and Arenado. Adam Wainwright is pitching for St. Louis. He'll be facing Kevin Gausman. That's on Bally Sports Midwest, channel 630 at 6:07 this evening. And finally, it'll be the New York Yankees at the New York Mets. Domingo Germán versus Max Scherzer. ESPN, channel 601. That's at 6 p.m. Cary O'Dell is here. My name is Bruce Dickey. We'll be back talking about Johnny Bob Harrell, along with plenty of other stuff, right after these words. Do please stick around.
When you want an honest deal and hometown service without the runaround, go to Lamont Chevrolet Chrysler in Fairfield. Let Gabe McGahey, Sheldon Bunning, Jeff Black, Dennis Downs, Matthew Rogers, or Caleb Dunn score the best deal for you on your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Parts and service departments with factory-trained technicians and express lane and state-of-the-art tire and alignment technology. Lamont always inspects your battery, antifreeze, wipers, and tires for free. We want you prepared for the open road ahead. Open 24/7 at LeMansOnline.com. You'll like the way we do business.
Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It is all things new at Zimdar's Heating, Air Conditioning, and Appliance Repair. We have a new line of heating and cooling equipment and new technicians. Our new equipment line offers 24 months free financing and excellent warranty coverage. Our experienced service technicians can provide you with quality service and repairs on all brands of HVAC equipment. Zimdar's has been serving Clay County and the surrounding areas for over 23 years. The employees of Zimdar's are here to help, so call local and call Zimdar's.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Big Talk with Bruce Dickey here on Wabash Catch TV. And my guest today is Cary O'Dell. He is the author of Johnny Bob, The Life and Times of John R. Harrell, and we're going to talk about his book a little bit today, as well as a little bit about Cary and where you can find him and what he's doing. How you doing, Cary?
I am very, very well.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for making the trip from Virginia.
Yes.
What gets you coming back from Virginia to Illinois?
I'm an Illinois boy. I was born and raised in Illinois. Grew up in Galesburg, Illinois, but my family is all from the Kinmundy area. Both sets of my mother was born in Kinmundy. My dad was raised in Kinmundy. My grandfather was superintendent of schools in Kinmundy.
Oh, really?
Yes. My grandmother was an English teacher in Kinmundy Alma High for many, many years. And when my parents retired in 1997, they moved back to Kinmundy and lived there for the last 10 years of their life.
Oh, that's
I still have a lot of family, aunts and cousins and everything over in the Kinmundy area.
So originally from Illinois, you're born and raised in a Southern Illinois boy?
Yes. I went to SIU. I grew up mainly in Galesburg, like I said. That's up near Peoria and everything. But then I went to SIU.
That's way north of Peoria, isn't it?
This is about an hour north of Peoria.
Yeah,
pretty easy. And then I went to SIU, and then I moved out to the East Coast about 25 years ago for different work opportunities.
What do you do out on the East Coast?
I work for the Library of Congress.
Really?
I work for the Motion Picture, Broadcast, and Recorded Sound Division of the Library of Congress.
How many people work for the Library of Congress?
Over 1,000.
How often do you have to shush people?
I shush them a lot. That's just my coworkers. Over 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
And our facility, which is located in Culpeper, Virginia, has over 100 employees.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that.
No, that's what we do.
The facility is there in Culpeper is all on television and
broadcast, motion pictures, and recorded sound. And the building used to be the National Reserve, where they housed money during the Cold War. And then they went to deaccession it, and they figured out that all these vaults here that go deep back into a mountain is very good and be very conducive for the housing of film and recorded sound material. So they rehabbed it.
How long ago did they try to decide that?
That was around 1990. It took about 7 years and a lot of money. We got a huge grant from the Packard Institute. You probably know the Packard Institute, or Packard Products.
I presume, Hewlett-Packard.
Yes,
half
exactly.
of Hewlett-Packard.
Who's a great film lover and film historian himself. And we had the facility, and that's where I work every day.
What do you do there?
I work mainly with two programs that the library has. One is called the National Film Registry. One is called the National Recording Registry. And this is an annual list put out each year by the Library of Congress of 25 films and 25 recorded works that are so pertinent, so vital to the history of the United States, they demand permanent archiving at the Library of Congress.
Really? Okay, I did not realize that they had such.
Yes.
I knew that. I didn't know that they had a limitation. The top 25.
We don't have we add 25 every year, and the film register's been around for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And the recording registry about 20 years. So we've added a lot. Now that's not just everything the library has, but these are works that we have to make sure we have master material from in case something should happen. We want to make sure that these survive forevermore.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, you see, the need is there for that,
yes,
isn't
absolutely. People think that, it's on YouTube, it's going to live forever. It may not. And so much of our early film and recorded sound material has been lost and destroyed over the years.
You can talk about kinetoscope.
Kinetoscopes and
gone.
stuff. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And really, about of all the silent films made in this country back in the days, only about 20% of those have made it to present day.
Oh, I did not realize.
Yes, it's very sad what we've lost. I mean, huge film stars like Theda Bara, Baby Peggy, maybe one of their full films has survived intact to present day.
No, that's
everything else we have is just little snippets.
That's the thing. I guess that's how you remember. That's how the society will remember maybe a Charles Chaplin better because his were better kept.
Probably. But the quality's there, of course, as well. They've survived to present day. And it's not just like from 100 years ago. I work a lot with the David Susskind Show. He was a talk show host in the 60s and 70s. A lot of his talk shows from the 60s and the 70s are gone.
How about Dick Cavett?
I think a lot of those have been preserved. I think Cavett was smart to hang on to a lot of that stuff. But even we have a lot of the NBC material. And for the Johnny Bob book, I actually went looking for a Today Show broadcast. But all those Today Show broadcasts from 20 years ago, those are gone. Those are long gone.
Well, in 1960, you might have had Dave Garroway and the chimpanzee.
I know. We have a few, but think of all the historical stuff that we could have had.
How'd you get into that?
I majored in radio TV at SIU. I've always been interested in the history of the medium and in the television medium, and the way that it influences and reflects society. And I never had a great desire to go out and be a broadcaster myself or filmmaker, but I was always interested in the history and the sort of sociological impact of it. My first book, which would start out my master's thesis, was on 15 important influential women in the early days of television. That got me into the history track. That got me into the library track. My first job out of college was in Chicago at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. After that, I moved out to the East Coast. I worked for the National Archives, for the Archives of American Broadcasting at the University of Maryland, now the Library of Congress.
I'm fascinated that there's even a job track that direction, but I guess there has to be, doesn't there?
Or I found one, or I built one somehow. Yes, but it's a lot of moving image librarians and stuff like that, and we have over 100 employees at the library and they are sound engineers and moving image experts and film technicians who help deal with and catalog all of this material.
So you said you started with the 15 most influential women in television.
Yes.
That was your first book. How many books have you written?
5, believe it or not.
5 books.
I know. Wow. I'm surprised, and so are all my high school teachers.
What are your other books? We'll get to Johnny Bob here in a minute.
Absolutely. My second book was on a lady named Virginia Marmaduke. Some of your watchers may know her that name. She was a very famous Chicago newspaper woman. She was the first woman added to the Chicago Newspaper Hall of Fame. She was the first woman to have a byline on the sports page for a Windy City Daily, and the first crime writer for a Windy City Daily.
What did she specialize in on the sports? Do you remember?
Horse racing and horse shows. Yeah, she was a very skilled horsewoman. So anything on 4 legs, I used to joke, Sin Virginia, or the Duchess, as she was nicknamed. And then when she grew up in Pinckney, she was born in Carbondale. Yeah. She retired to Pinckneyville. She spent some time in Heron. When she retired, she moved back to Pinckneyville, very close to Carbondale. She became a huge booster for SIU. I don't think there's anyone who did more for that university. And she never drew a salary, but she endowed scholarships, she endowed a media center.
Wow.
And she used to come to campus sometimes for various events, and she always had to have a young man on her arm to kind of go get her. And that I was one of that group.
No kidding.
Yes. And
you're an escort.
Escort,
not in the platonic term.
Yes, absolutely. It was always like, a student from the journalism school or whatever.
Just to make sure she got places on
got
time.
Places and things, and pick her up in her house in Pinckneyville and things like that. And she used to prefer to a young gentleman, because she was an old-fashioned girl.
Sure.
And and we hit it off, and we always stayed in touch.
Well, that's fascinating.
And I thought, I want to look into the stuff she wrote. So that's what that second book was.
You wrote a book about Bucky Fuller.
Buckminster Fuller, SIU. I guess I keep going back to SIU, but Becky Fuller, one of the great minds and architectural and design geniuses of the last century, spent 10 years teaching at SIU.
Yeah.
And his only dome, he created the geodesic dome that we all know and love at Disney World and all that. The only dome that he ever built for himself and lived in is in Carbondale.
Wow.
And he lived in it with his wife Anne for 10 years. Then it became a private residence. Well, it was always a private residence, but he sold it to a friend of his. The friend lived there for about 2 years. Then he turned it into a rental property, became a bit of a party house, as you can imagine.
It would be.
How could it not be? You know.
Imagine all the stoners looking at that.
Yeah, exactly. And then like party at the Dome. You can find that.
Sure.
You know, exactly.
Yeah, easy to
And then
find.
about 20 years ago, it was acquired by a foundation. I serve on that board of that foundation now.
Did you get an opportunity to meet Mr. Fuller?
No, I did not. He died in the 80s, so I was, I wish I would. Some of our board members not only saw him speak or knew him, but taught alongside him at SIU, which is remarkable. I always admired Bucky. The ironic thing is when I was in Carbondale for my 4 years, I didn't know the Dome was there. But at that time, it was in private hands.
Yeah.
It was not, so even though I drove by, it was also behind a big fence. So even if I drove by it, I wouldn't have looked for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until afterwards that I said, Bucky had a Dome home in Carbondale? And I asked for a tour of it when I would go, because I go back, my brother and his family live in Carbondale. I have many aunts down, my Marilyn lives there as well. So I go visit Carbondale occasionally. I asked for a tour, loved it. It was just fascinating.
And you asked how you could help.
And they actually said, we're looking for somebody to write a history of this place. I said, I'm in.
That's great.
So that's what I did. And by the way, I did not make a cent off that book because all the money was donated back to the Dome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cary O'Dell. That's not going to be what we're doing with John R. Harrell.
Oh no, I'm keeping every dime.
I tell you what we'll do. We're going to come back and talk how he got into Johnny Bob Harrell, and we'll be doing that in just a minute. We're watching Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Cary O'Dell is here back in a sec. Stick around.
At Midwest Farm and Land, we've got a team of dedicated land, home, and commercial experts ready to help.
We understand that buying or selling a property can be extremely stressful. Let our folks take care of you and help you find your perfect piece of property.
Whether it's recreational or hunting land, farmland, homes, or commercial, we're there to help.
Local experts with national reach. If you're interested, give us a call, 618-532-1961, or check us out on the website, midwestfarmco.com.
Hi, my name is Bruce Dickey of Wabash Catch TV's Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Watch us each weekday right here on your local cable station. We're on at 9 a.m. with a repeat at 9 p.m. It's your local TV talk show with plenty of information, fun, and frivolity to get your day started right or maybe even ended right. Please contact me at 665-9970 or at bruced@wabash.net if you are a member of your organization would like to be a guest on the show. That's 665-9970. Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Hey, thanks for watching.
When you want an honest deal and hometown service without the runaround, go to Lamont Chevrolet Chrysler in Fairfield. Let Gabe McGahey, Sheldon Bunning, Jeff Black, Dennis Downs, Matthew Rogers, or Caleb Dunn score the best deal for you on your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Parts and service departments with factory-trained technicians and express lane and state-of-the-art tire and alignment technology. Lamont always inspects your battery, antifreeze, wipers, and tires for free. We want you prepared for the open road ahead. Open 24/7 at LaMonsOnline.com. You'll like the way we do business.
Get ahead of the game at Carter Athletic Academy, where the goal is to transform you into the best young athlete you can be. Train for top performance in football, volleyball, soccer, baseball, and softball. Professional private lessons and clinics are always available with Carter Athletic Academy's expert training staff. Carter's exclusive Hit Track system brings skill development as well as exciting gameplay to batting cages. Plus, the Academy is the perfect spot for your special event or celebration. The Carter Athletic Academy in Fairfield. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Big Talk with Bruce Dickey here on Wabash Catch TV. Cary O'Dell is here, and he is the author of Johnny Bob, Life and Times of John R. Harrell. And, of course, a Louisville native, lived here all his life, right?
He was born in Diana, but he moved to Louisville at a very young.
In Xenia?
Xenia. Yes, I'm
Xenia,
sorry.
yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, well, those people in Xenia are very angry now.
Sorry. At least I didn't say Louisville or something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All these towns, we never pronounce things right in Southern Illinois.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
He was born there, but he moved to Louisville with his family, and he lived in Louisville the great majority of his life, except for, of course, the times he was incarcerated.
Incarcerated, on the run, or maybe in the armed forces.
Yes, because he did serve in World War II.
What drew you? Did you know anything about Mr. Harrell or his family or anything?
I spent a lot of time in Kim Mundy growing up, and over the years, and like I've mentioned, my parents retired there. And around 2001, my mother had been in the hospital. She came home from the hospital. I came from Virginia to help acclimate her back home.
Yeah.
One of her friends stopped by to visit her, Marceline. Hi, Marceline. And she made mention of this overgrown house over in Louisville, and I was already working on the book about Buckminster Fuller's Dome Home in Carbondale. Right. I thought this would be a fun little side piece, another architectural oddity, in Southern Illinois.
Something you could maybe do an article on.
Yes, exactly. That's all I had in mind. But then when I began just doing a little bit of research and found out this amazing, strange, fascinating story of Johnny Bob Harrell, I had to go deeper, then to find out that Johnny Bob was still alive at that time. This was around 2010, 2011, and that he was willing to come and meet with me, or I could meet with him next time I was in Southern Illinois, And originally I thought I would talk about just the house. Yeah. I didn't know how comfortable he would be talking about everything else that happened in his life. But I no sooner met him and sat down on his front porch than he began telling all the stories about things that happened in his life, especially in the 60s, and I knew then, I think I'm writing a book.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. You've got FBI involved.
Oh yeah.
You've got J. Edgar Hoover for crying out loud. You've got scary similarities to Waco. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little. But what do you think? Okay, so you got started.
Yes.
You kind of got a hold of this thing.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Bob was very forthcoming, and he's a lovely man. I really came to like him as a personal. And I talked to him, many of his children, and the stories. He's most famous for founding this very controversial religious colony in the early '60s that he created or he founded in Louisville. And which many people called a cult. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not a cult expert, but based on my understanding, I don't think it was a cult. But it was enough to make people scared.
Yeah.
And then at one time in early '61 or mid '61, a AWOL soldier had hitchhiked his way out here to join Johnny Bob's colony, let's call it. And about 2 weeks later, that's when the feds came in. That's when not J. Edgar personally, but over 100. U.S. military, local police, FBI stormed the compound in Louisville.
Why? I mean, I guess it's a long story, but for one deserting soldier, it seems like I guess I'm confused.
For several weeks for about a year, a lot of this happened very quick, but for about a year before that, Johnny Bob had been making people very scared and very worried. He'd been talking a lot, preaching a lot about ungodly behavior in Louisville throughout the country, the encroaching communist menace, saying that not only that many people were communist sympathizers, but were on and out communists themselves. So Johnny Bob was at war kind of with the local community. Yeah. And then this soldier showed up. And it was a lot for an AWOL soldier, but they went to Johnny Bob and said, "You are harboring a deserter. You need to turn him over." That's what the FBI and local authorities said. Johnny Bob said no. This gentleman, this soldier, Dion Davis, has fled his army camp in Camp Lejeune and taken refuge. He said that they were communists and ungodly. I'm offering him sanctuary. Johnny Bob also said that his property was a sovereign state, and the laws of the United States do not apply with him. And you're grinning at that.
I am grinning at that.
You know what's coming next.
Yeah.
So it's not like they just stormed the property. Yeah. Now, one of the most fascinating rumors that happened that I couldn't wait to get to the bottom of was that Dion Davis, this soldier, was not an AWOL soldier after all, but a double agent.
For whom? For the FBI?
Yes. That the government, local authorities, everyone was getting very nervous about what was going on in Johnny Bob's property, and they were looking for a reason to go in. So one of the great rumors, and there's many rumors about Johnny Bob, was that Dion was a double agent. But I don't believe that to be true.
I'm going to say, have you been able to prove that either way?
Yes, because I've interviewed Dion Davis.
Oh, really?
Yes, I tracked him down. He lives out in Texas. I won't get more specific than that.
He's still with us.
He's still very much with us. He's a lovely man, very smart man, learned man. This is ancient history to him, but he was very candid and forthright to me. By the time he went AWOL and journeyed from the East Coast, he was actually residing in Roanoke.
Well, Camp Lejeune would be, it's in Maryland?
Yes, yes. But then he went AWOL with a friend of his. That was his third AWOL.
He just didn't want to be in the Army.
He didn't want to be in the Army. He'd grown up in Pennsylvania in a very unpleasant home environment. His dad was an alcoholic. His dad was abusive. What did you do when you were a young man and you went to
rebel?
You rebel, or what you do? You joined the Army.
Yeah.
So at 17, he enrolled to get out of the house. He was not ready for the military, obviously. So I think so when I mentioned that, I said, there's a rumor, Dion, that you were this double agent. He just laughed out loud at the idea. And Dion sent to me copies of his military records, which showed this was very clearly his third AWOL. I think if the U.S. government were going to send someone on a secret mission, they'd pick a soldier who was a little bit more dedicated than Dion. You know.
What happened to Dion after after he got arrested?
After he was collected that day on the compound, he woke up on a cot in one of the cabins on the Johnny Bob property with 3 rifles pointed in his face. Yeah. He was hauled over with the rest of the men was arrested that day. Johnny Bob was arrested. Johnny Bob's eldest son was arrested, and all of the male followers, which was about 20 at that time. And they were dispatched to Kinmundy. Ironically, they stopped to refuel in Kinmundy, Illinois, and my uncle Kent was working at the gas station.
You're kidding.
No. I didn't know this at the time, but my uncle Kent told me later. They still live over in Kinmundy. He was working he was just a teenager at that time.
Yeah.
And he was working at that station where they pulled up to refuel on their way to East St. Louis.
No kidding.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There's all these weird coincidences with...
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So they were all taken. Dion was immediately turned over to military police and hauled off first for a psychic evaluation. This is the interesting part. After they being separated that day in East St. Louis, Johnny Bob and Dion would never see or speak to each other ever.
Oh, is that
again.
right?
That's correct.
Wow.
Here's a little tidbit. After I found Dion, I mentioned that to Johnny Bob. Johnny Bob very much wanted to speak to Dion. Dion did not want to speak to him.
Well, it kind of was a rough patch in his life, for crying out loud.
But actually, Dion's one of the few people who are part of that whole community, that whole religious colony of Johnny Bob, that harbors any resentment towards Johnny. That's one of the other fascinating things, and what kind of separates it from a Waco or something like that.
Yeah.
I spoke to many of the former followers or their children who spent some time in their youth on the compound. No one seems to be upset about it.
What was the time frame?
It was actually pretty fast. It was pretty quick.
Of the compound.
The compound only existed for about 7 months, maybe a year at most.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes it so frightening for the community, I think, because it all happened so fast. Johnny Bob was very powerful in the Methodist Church in Louisville.
Yeah.
And he preached a lot, and not only against Satanism and devil worship and things like that, and unquestioned behavior, but also against communism. Now, before we think of him as paranoid, this was the height of the Cold War.
Right.
A lot of people were worried about communism, maybe not coming to Southern Illinois, but they were. But then Johnny Bob kind of took a step further, and he would name names and say this person in the community was
unjustified,
with really no proof at all.
Yeah.
But he said that God was speaking to him, and he was giving him this information.
That's impressive. I tell you what, let's do.
Yes.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll come back. I want to hear about Mr. Harrell's cure for cancer.
Yes.
That to me is his personal. I mean, the guy personally got cured.
Yeah.
I know somebody who has had the same thing happen, and it wasn't cancer, it was something else. But like skin disease was going to kill him or something. That felt touched. Yep. You're watching Big Talk with Bruce, Dickey, Cary O'Dell. Here, we'll be back right after this. Stick around. Having car trouble, need a tow, or just some routine maintenance? Butcher Automotive in Louisville has you covered. Locally owned and operated, Butcher Automotive offers complete vehicle repair services along with tire sales and wheel alignment. They're your local Hankook tire and interstate battery dealer. Butcher Automotive offers free local pickup and delivery so your car can be repaired while you're at work or at home. Butcher strives to treat everyone's vehicle as their own. At Butcher Automotive, they don't want you to give them your business, they want to earn it.
Does your home show signs of foundation problems? Call the experts at Woods Basement Systems. Our Power Brace system can fix the problem permanently and help protect the value of your home. Call Woods Basement Systems today. Woods, the all things basement-y experts.
Mold, rank air, pests, all getting closer to inside your home. With a dirt crawl space, there's no telling what's below you.
A sealed crawl space locks the nasty stuff out, plus can lower your utility bills. Woods, the all things basement-y experts.
Residents of the Clay County and surrounding area have relied on Clay County State Bank for sound professional service for over 100 years. With convenient lobby and drive-up hours, we are ready to serve you Monday through Saturday. We appreciate all who bank with us, and we look forward to the opportunity of working with anyone who is looking for a community bank to help with their financial needs. Give us a call at 665-3314, visit us online, or stop by and see us on the square in Louisville to experience our friendly personal service.
When you want an honest deal and hometown service without the runaround, go to Lamont Chevrolet Chrysler in Fairfield. Let Gabe McGahey, Sheldon Bunning, Jeff Black, Dennis Downs, Matthew Rogers, or Caleb Dunn score the best deal for you on your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Parts and service departments with factory-trained technicians and express lane and state-of-the-art tire and alignment technology. Lamont always inspects your battery, antifreeze, wipers, and tires for free. We want you prepared for the open road ahead. Open 24/7 at LeMansOnline.com. You'll like the way we do business.
I thought I'd lost my business in that fire, but my agent was there before the flames were out. He said, together, we're going to rebuild. Our employees depended on it. My independent agent and auto owners made sure we didn't skip a beat. I mean, we didn't miss a single payroll.
For whatever lies ahead, we're always there. Auto Owners Insurance. North Wayne Insurance Agency in Flora is your local independent auto owners insurance agency.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Big Talk with Bruce Dickey on Wabash Catch TV. Cary O'Dell is here. He is the author. I probably at some point ought to show your book.
Please.
Yeah, there is the book, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Johnny Bob by Cary O'Dell, The Life and Times of John R. Harrell of Louisville, Illinois. How many people do call it Louisville whenever you go to places?
Usually only me when I mess up, but someone corrected me very early on.
Well, that's good.
This book's available. They're having supply chain issues with the printing, but order on Amazon or via the publisher. And
Barnes & Noble, too.
Barnes & Noble, and they will supply it as soon. The printing is done in England for some reason, so they got to ship them all over, but they will satisfy those orders.
How's the sales? I guess pretty good if you've run out.
So far, pretty good is what I understand. So,
and it's a fascinating. It's a fascinating story.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
It is a tremendously. We'll get to the overall look of that home in just a minute.
Yes.
But what really to me is astonishing, and like I said, I know somebody who has been saved by the hand of God.
Yes.
He was too, or his wife.
Yes,
was it him or his wife?
him, Johnny Bob.
Well, tell me the story.
This was in 1959. Johnny Bob was already very successful here in Louisville. He had a construction business and other companies. He owned a lot of property. He owned property in Kim-Mundy and Farina, as well as a lot in Louisville. He had over 100. He was also the largest employer in Louisville, with over 100 people on his payroll.
Right,
and everything was going well.
This was for the mausoleum.
This is mausoleum, his construction business, his apartment rentals, the whole. He owned a movie theater in Farina for many years.
Okay.
So he dabbled in about everything. And he was a father, and he was married, and he would eventually have 7 children. I think he had 4 at that time. In 59, he was diagnosed with cancer of the lymphatic system. And he exhausted sort of all the medical options here in Southern Illinois. He even went to a local faith healer, and that didn't work out. He finally was scheduled to go up to the Mayo Clinic for an operation. And even then, they said, we don't know if this is going to work. He and his wife traveled up to the Mayo Clinic.
So he was in Rochester when this happened?
Yes, that's right. The night before he was staying, he and his wife were staying in a hotel, one of those hotels nearby that catered basically to Mayo patients.
Right.
The night before his surgery, he claimed that God visited them in their hotel room, and it was a rather violent thing because the devil also visited them.
Oh, the devil was there?
Yes.
Okay.
And and they kind of battled over the soul and the body of Johnny Bob, but God won, and Johnny Bob was healed. The next day, he went to the Mayo Clinic. He met with his doctor, and I've already think that doctor was on the staff at the Mayo Clinic at that time.
Yeah.
And Johnny Bob's cancer was gone. And there was no record of Johnny Bob ever having surgery at the Mayo Clinic.
You went.
Oh, yes, I wanted to investigate. And Johnny Bob also lived to be 99 years old.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
the proof is in the pudding there.
Yeah.
Johnny Bob was always devout before this, but this only kind of further created strengthened his faith, yes. And at this time...
So he's about at 38 or so at this time.
He's a very young man. Young family.
With a death warrant.
Yes,
basically,
exactly.
A death sentence.
Exactly. So because of this miraculous, he later partnered with a friend of his, a Methodist minister named Vance Comer, who was very successful, very accomplished man. Vance was very accomplished with several advanced degrees and fluent in several languages. He was a preacher in Kimmoney Methodist Church for many years, then came to Louisville, and he worked with Johnny Bob on creating, I guess you would call it a booklet or pamphlet, recounting the healing that was later distributed. And Johnny Bob then found a sort of side career preaching and giving talks about this miraculous healing to local churches, civic groups, et cetera, et cetera. And also that's when God started speaking more regularly to Johnny Bob. And that's where the house came in, because God told Johnny Bob he needed to build this house.
God told Johnny Bob he needed to build Mount Vernon.
Yes. He needed to build a house in Louisville modeled on Washington's Mount Vernon, only 20% bigger. And that's what he did.
All right. All right. That's fine. That's cool.
Yep.
I got to ask the practicalities of it. I feel terrible, and I feel terribly stupid to be the one who's asking this. But somebody's probably already. How does God talk to somebody? Do you hear it? Do other people hear the voice?
I don't know how. I assume everybody hears it differently. If they choose to hear it at all, if they hear it at all, they may feel something. They may have a voice in their head. I don't know how Johnny Bob heard. But God communicated a lot with Johnny Bob. Also told Johnny Bob to run for local office, which he did.
He did not win, right?
He did not win, no. His candidacy for Illinois Senate really wasn't treated. He did campaign up and down the state, but mainly in the southern portion. He did take part in at least one debate up in Cook County.
Really?
And yes. But when the votes were tallied, he ended up fifth in a six-man race. Now, Johnny Bob later told me that God told him to run for office, but never said he'd win the office.
Oh, well.
There you go.
Thanks, God.
Yes. So, Johnny Bob...
Make me just lose.
But it did amplify Johnny Bob's message. Yeah. He really did want to reach out to people.
It's fascinating to me, the whole... the timeline. Like you said, this all happened very fast.
Quickly.
When did the house then started being built in 1960?
No, middle of 1959.
So when he came back.
Yes.
From Rochester.
During his campaign, pretty much, and while he was still managing his businesses in Louisville, he broke ground on the house.
Okay.
God did not tell him why he needed to build this house, but told him to build it.
And he had the funds that he could probably...
He was a very wealthy man.
He had the funds that he could do whatever
he made
God
his money through
asked him to do.
Through his property, through oil wells. He claimed that God was guiding him to where to drill on his property to find oil, and he said God never led him to a dry hole. It's hard to argue with success.
That's pretty good.
And he also patented a type of mausoleum design there's one in Louisville, there's one in Kimmoney, there's probably other places. He patented that and sold that throughout the country, and that became very, very successful.
Here again, ladies and gentlemen, is the picture of the cover with the Mount Vernon.
That's the Mount Vernon house, or the Big House, as it came to be known, under construction.
The which house?
The Big House.
The Big House.
As it was often called. That's Johnny Bob standing out in front. And it's kind of a misnomer. That house was never actually completed.
Boy, that's just gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous home. Oh, it's absolutely. It is still standing, but it is. I would not go in it if I were anyone because it's not safe. It was never actually completed. It was never had indoor plumbing. It never had electricity. It was never. The first floor only had a subfloor to it. The only way to access the second floor was via an external staircase.
I tell you what, let's do. We're going to take our final quick break here. We're going to come back. We're going to take a little bit of. We're going to see the overhead view of the home, as well as maybe talk a little bit more about some of the house and some of the other. There are a lot of details.
There's a lot in this story. Yeah.
There's a lot. We're going to come back here in just a minute. Watching Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Cary O'Dell is here. You can find the book on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble, and he's also doing presentations tonight in Farina, right?
Yeah, Florida.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night in Kinmundy. Kinmundy, yes. Kinmundy Public Library.
Did one in Salem on Monday.
Yep.
Flora on Tuesday.
Yep.
Kinmundy on Wednesday.
Yeah, sorry.
Any more after that?
I'm speaking to the Flora Rotarians on Thursday.
There you go. You want some big talk? Back in a sec.
Make Carnaby Square in downtown Fairfield your fashion leader. We're the little boutique with the big inventory of beautiful, trendy outfits and clothing in a wide array of your favorite name brands. And don't forget our large selection of jewelry and accessories. Carnaby Square is Southern Illinois' largest dealer of Brighton. At Carnaby Square, we take pride in our one-on-one, knowledgeable customer service and look forward to helping you create your own special look. Plus, always free gift wrapping. Find endless gift ideas 24/7 at CarnabySquare.com and on our Facebook page. Shop the fashion leader in downtown Fairfield, Carnaby Square.
Napa know-how.
At Flora Auto Parts, you can count on the Napa know-how experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, your locally owned Napa store carries a large inventory of parts for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced counter people understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa know-how at Flora Auto Parts.
When you want an honest deal and hometown service without the runaround, go to Lamont Chevrolet Chrysler in Fairfield. Let Gabe McGahey, Sheldon Bunning, Jeff Black, Dennis Downs, Matthew Rogers, or Caleb Dunn score the best deal for you on your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Parts and service departments with factory-trained technicians and express lane and state-of-the-art tire and alignment technology. Lamont always inspects your battery, antifreeze, wipers, and tires for free. We want you prepared for the open road ahead. Open 24/7 at LeMansOnline.com. You'll like the way we do business.
In 1916, Warren Miller chose Auto Owners Insurance. Later, his son made the same choice, as did his grandson. And today, his great-granddaughter did the same. As we reflect on where we've been, we're grateful to our independent agents and to those who have put their trust in us, and to the generations who will. Auto Owners Insurance.
Harrison Insurance in Louisville is your local independent auto owners insurance agency.
His sons are going through it now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Big Talk with Bruce Dickey here on Wabash Catch TV. Cary O'Dell is here. He is the author of Johnny Bob. Again, here is the book, Johnny Bob by Cary O'Dell. And we were gonna let's talk a little bit more about the home, because there is the home.
This is the home. I don't know the
several years ago.
Many years ago. I would guess this is from the very late, maybe late 50s, early 60s. That is the Mount Vernon home, also called the Big House. It is 20% bigger. It was modeled completely after the George Washington home, but 20% bigger.
Okay, now when you say 20% bigger, does Mount Vernon in Arlington have 8 pillars in front of it?
I believe so. I believe it's a direct replica of it, completely with the cupola and the whole thing there. And you see the access road that would come in. You see that little building next to it.
Yeah,
that is a 4-car garage.
Okay.
And above that garage is an apartment.
Okay.
And that is where Johnny Bob and his family lived during the construction and basically their entire lives on the property. Johnny Bob and his family never lived in that big house.
Never lived in the house?
No. Maybe they spent a night or two, but never lived there. They always lived in that apartment.
As you said, and this is the fascinating part, they never electrified it.
Right. The only way they had power in that house occasionally was they would drag a cable over from the garage apartment to the main house. And there was a fireplace at one end of the big house, and that was its only heating source.
Well, you can see the fireplace, the chimney's up on top.
I don't think they ever completed the chimney on the other side, but on one end there is a chimney. I'll also draw your attention to the tower back.
I was going to ask you about the tower. Tell me about
Johnny Bob eventually kind of fought with all the utility companies in Louisville. And one time he got to a kerfuffle with the water company. He sent the bill back to the...
I got into a kerfuffle.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word on this show in a while. That's pretty cool.
I'm happy to use it.
Yeah.
And he would send the bills back and say, God told me not to pay this bill. And so he had to find his own water source. So he built a well, and this is the water tower, and that was that. And it was also functioned as a lookout tower, because he eventually erected a fence around the entire property. There's a lot of problems of people from Louisville, because he's right. You see, he's right buttressed up to the town there.
Yeah, he's next to the
When
town.
I first heard about this house, I said, "Oh, it's got to be out in the country someplace." No, it's right there, Buster.
How many acres is the?
I'm not sure the full acreage, and it has since been halved. I think it was originally 60 acres, and then later he sold some, about half of it, and it was 30 acres. Behind the house is the Wabash River that serves as
Little
one border.
Wabash.
Little Wabash, yes. And behind the house, you see a large pole barn,
Yeah.
which was used for storage. And at one time, Johnny Bob owned 2 airplanes. He was a pilot, and his airplanes were parked there. And because eventually the followers of him from the church he founded, the Conservative Christian Church, came and lived on the property. And they hunkered down originally in the house. And there were so many people there at one time, probably as many as 100 people living on that property. Johnny Bob and the others began building cabins on the property, lined up. They go on for about a quarter mile, single row of the two rows facing each other for about a quarter mile. And people moved. That's where Dion Davis was found the day of the raid.
In one of the cabins.
In one of the cabins, yes.
How many? Let's talk about the raid.
Yes.
The FBI came in. They were loaded.
Yes, there was a lot. They were. Well, first of all, you never go in unprepared.
Yeah.
But Johnny Bob was so ripe for rumors. There was all these things that Johnny Bob had a sporting goods company where you could sell rifles to the mail at that time.
Yeah.
So he did that. Was one of his businesses. So he had all these guns.
Access.
Yeah, he had easy access. There was also all these rumors that he had attacked dogs on the property and things like that. So when the soldiers came in that morning, they brought on their guns, but a lot of them brought wooden clubs with them because they had been told there was actually one dog on the property, maybe 2, like a collie, which the kids nicknamed Lassie, of course.
Yeah.
So that was it. But there was all these rumors. They didn't quite know what they were getting into, and they weren't sure if these people would fire back. Not one single bullet was ever fired.
Well, that's good.
That's very good. It was a real miracle that happened. So they used a half track to storm the main gate. There's also an entrance down the road, a second entrance, and then another group of soldiers came in that way, and they also came over the Little Wabash and from the back.
And like you said, they arrested several.
Yes, originally they wanted to arrest everyone on the property except for the kids, but they were surprised by how many people were actually there. So finally said, "Well, just take the adult men." So Johnny Bob, his eldest son, who was only 14, but a very tall, big guy, Todd, wonderful young man, wonderful man now, he was arrested because he lunged after one of the guns on one of the, and they arrested all the men.
Okay, so Mr. Harrell gets arrested.
Yes.
And then how did he escape how do you escape?
Well, he was bailed out about 24 hours later by his mother, who was living on the estate and had access to his funds. And then the other men were bailed out about 3 or 4 days later because they put a mortgage
bailed out of East St. Louis? Because it would have been federal.
Yes,
federal
East St.
jail.
Louis. They were all taken off to East St. Louis. There's a picture of the book of all of them being marched into the jail and things like that.
Wow.
They were bailed out about a week later and to await trial. And so Johnny Bob began a very, very long court proceedings at that time. He was charged, now this is a very interesting detail, he was charged, among other things, with harboring a deserter. But when Dion was returned to the military, he was classified only as AWOL, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
Johnny Bob's lawyer said, well, you can't charge us with harboring a deserter if there was no deserter. And the local court basically said, we don't care what the military calls Dion Davis. We are calling him a deserter, and we're charging you with being a deserter, with harboring a deserter.
Wow. So,
along with a lot of other things that he was charged with, he began being investigated by the IRS and the United States Postal System because they became concerned about the voluminous amounts of mail that was found.
They were sending out.
They were sending out, yes. That led to a rumor that Johnny Bob was running various mail scams, and that's a persistent rumor over the years. I've never found any evidence of that.
I guess my question is, at what point did he abscond to? To Arkansas?
Yes, he announced that he was going to be relocating. He was moving out of Louisville, and all his followers were coming with him. They were going to move to New Mexico, but first Johnny Bob had to go up to Springfield and have a meeting with the IRS.
Okay.
So he and his wife and I think 4 of his children, his youngest son, Jeb, had just been born and was left behind in Louisville. One day they were due up in Springfield. They never made that appointment.
That's how it happened. Okay.
That's how it happened.
So it was getting away from the IRS.
Or basically running away from everything.
Got away from everything else.
Their car was found in Taylorville with no signs of them. His followers believed that Johnny Bob had been kidnapped or absconded by some sort of communist threat. The local government just decided he'd run away, and they put out a wanted poster, and they declared him a wanted fugitive, and they put him on the FBI's most wanted list.
Because who knows if he had gone across state lines and taken. They
believe that he and his family went to Missouri, and then 18 months after he was gone, his family was found living. He and Johnny Bob was found living in a town called Strawberry, Arkansas, where they had settled, and he was going by the name Thomas Taylor.
And he got picked up because of a license plate.
It wasn't a license. They had a meter reader. Had saw this house, and nobody ever, all boarded up kind of, but people living in that, he thought someone had been held captive.
Oh, I see.
And he sent the local authorities. They looked at it in a vehicle that was parked on the property. They found a receipt that said Johnny Bob Harrell, Louisville, Illinois. They went back. They found out he was wanted. Johnny Bob, when confronted, said, "Are you really Johnny Bob Harrell?" He said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "You can arrest me. Everyone else is innocent." And Johnny Bob was taken back to East St. Louis, put in jail, and put on trial. And he really did not put up much of defense at all.
Since that time, since the 1960s, when the rhubarb basically, let's call it a rhubarb. He called it a kerfuffle. I'll call it rhubarb. When the rhubarb happened, he came back and lived in Louisville.
Yeah, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He spent half of that time at a prison in Terre Haute, ironically, my birthplace. And and his family lived in Marshall, which is where my parents lived when they were quite young, when they first started out. And then he was transferred to Leavenworth after about half of his sentence. He served about 5 years of his sentence. He vowed at one time never to go back to Louisville. But
that's where his property was.
That's where his property was. He could have sold it, I suppose, but I think he kind of wanted to prove a point. He had a lot of restrictions put on him. He could never preach in another church again. He could never found a church. He could not associate with his former members. So if they would see each other on the street in Louisville, they would wave at each other, but not really visit. And nobody thought, and he had to have a job. He had to have a job, and nobody in Louisville thought that anybody would hire him. But a man named John Zink, who owns a lot of property, Big John, was a friend of Johnny Bob's and hired him.
Yeah.
And Johnny Bob moved back onto the property, back into that garage apartment. And eventually we constituted the ground, as you may know, as a paramilitary type facility to train survivalists and people still worried about communism.
How long did that last?
That lasted about 20 years, actually.
Oh, is that right?
He would do these freedom festivals, they called it, twice a year. He also did them in Missouri and also one out on the East Coast sometimes. And they were there was a free festival, so it attracted a lot of people, a lot of people, and they were invited once again to camp on the grounds. If they wanted to bring a camper, they could park it. They could set up a tent. They had all sorts of workshops about hand-to-hand combat, what to do in case the economy flounders, the role of women in the new, in case of the
new order or
whatever. Yes, but eventually it got to be a little bit too radical.
What was I've got like 30 seconds or a minute. What was the craziest thing you think you ran into in the whole?
Oh, the whole thing.
I was going to say.
Just when you think that it can't get any more bizarre, he runs off. He disappears. Just when you think something, then it's just weird. It's just the whole thing is odd and fascinating.
And Johnny Bob went to his death satisfied. He lived a 99 year satisfied life.
Yes. I asked him once, how do you explain your longevity? He said, the Lord.
He's got a point.
He's got a point. I can't argue. He lived to be 99.
Wow. How about that? Fascinating story, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Cary O'Dell, the book Johnny Bob, The Life and Times of John R. Harrell of Louisville, Illinois. And best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thousands and thousands of copies.
It's an interesting story. I think it's a fair book as well. It's not pro Johnny Bob. It's not anti Johnny Bob. I like Johnny Bob on a personal level.
Yeah.
I really did. I think it was a sweet man.
That's the important thing, making sure it's an even playing field.
Exactly. And it's about separating the rumor from the truth.
There you go. Thank you so much for being here, Cary. I appreciate it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Big Talk with Bruce Dickey. Have a great day.